Alright, listen up, because this right here almost cost me 50 grand, and I'm not exaggerating,
You need
not
to see
even
this.
a little.
It's more serious
This
than
is
we
one of
thought.
those stories where you think, nah, this can't be real until it's happening to you in your own damn living room. So picture this. Quiet neighborhood, tree-lined streets, kids riding bikes, people waving like everything's normal, right? I come home from work tired like usual, kick off my boots, grab the mail. And there it is. One envelope thicker than the rest, stamped official bold letters, HOA notice. Now I've lived here long enough to know that never means good news. But I still wasn't ready for what I read next. $50,000. That number hit me like a truck. I actually laughed at first because it sounded so stupid, so unreal, like somebody was messing with me. But nah. This was real. Dead serious. They said I violated community standards, unauthorized improvements, improper use of property. All that fancy language they use when they want to scare you into folding. My hands started shaking, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Because 50 grand ain't pocket change.
We need to
That's
address this
college
issue
money.
now before it escalates further.
That's
Both of our
retirement
organizations
money.
have a lot at stake here.
That's lose your house money. And the worst part, I already knew who was behind it. Linda, HOA president.
Thank you all for coming today.
Self-appointed
We stand at a
neighborhood
critical
queen.
juncture, and I must address the challenges
The type
ahead
who
with
walks
candor.
around like she owns the place, clipboard in hand, fake smile, eyes always judging. See, Linda and I had history. Not loud screaming history, but quiet, petty history. Side comments. Notes taped to my door. Emails written like threats but signed warmly. All because of my backyard. That damn backyard. Stone path I built myself. Fence line approved years ago. Same fence the last inspector signed off on. Same fence everybody else got. But for some reason, mine was suddenly a problem. That night I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, running numbers in my head, thinking about lawyers, court fees, fines, liens. Thinking about how fast life can flip upside down when someone with a little power decides they don't like you. At about 3 in the morning I went outside. Cold air, quiet neighborhood, moonlight hitting the stones. And I remember thinking, how the hell did we get here? The next morning I did what most people don't. I didn't panic. I didn't call the HOA begging. I started digging. Bylaws. State laws. Old emails. Approvals. Everything. And that's when things got real interesting. Turns out Linda had been rewriting the rules depending on who she was dealing with. Selective enforcement. Targeting. Stuff courts don't play with. I talked to neighbors quietly. Real quiet. People were scared, man. One guy paid 10 grand just to make her go away. Another sold his house. Straight up left. That's when it hit me.
This doesn't look right at all. I know, but we have to deal with it now. But this changes everything.
This was about control. And I realized something else too. If I backed down, I'd be next in line forever. So I made a call. One phone call that changed everything. Sarah Kim. Real deal attorney. Didn't flinch when I said 50,000. Didn't blink when I showed her the letter. She just leaned back, looked over her glasses and said, "They messed up." And right there, fear turned into calm. Because when a lawyer says that, you know somebody's about to learn a lesson. We didn't send angry emails. We didn't threaten. We waited. Because when you're right, you don't rush. The emergency HOA meeting got scheduled real fast. Funny how that works. They smelled resistance and wanted to shut it down. That room was packed. Linda tried to act in charge, but her voice cracked. And when Sarah stood up, you could feel the shift. She didn't yell. She didn't insult. She just explained what selective enforcement looks like in court, what personal liability means, what happens when board members lose protection. And you should have seen their faces. One by one. The confidence drained. That's when I knew. This was bigger than me now. But let me tell you something. That $50,000 fine. That wasn't the end. That was the opening move. And in the next part, that HOA learned real fast. You don't bluff someone who's got receipts. And a lawyer who doesn't miss. Because once the paperwork hit the table, everything they thought they controlled started slipping through their fingers. And that's when things really went sideways. So by the time that emergency HOA meeting rolled around, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was locked in. That fear I had before, that pit in my stomach, that was gone. Because when you know you're right, and you've got proof, and you've got a lawyer who smells blood in the water, you walk different. That community room was packed. And I mean packed. People standing against the walls pretending they just wanted to observe. But nah. They were there to see if Linda finally got checked. Linda walked in late, which told me everything I needed to know. She wanted to make an entrance. Still playing queen. Clipboard in hand, blazer pressed, smile tight. But her eyes were scanning the room. She knew something was off. Sarah walked in right behind me, calm as hell. Didn't even look at Linda. Didn't need to. That alone rattled her. The meeting started with Linda doing her usual routine. Talking slow. Using big words. Trying to sound official. Like this was just another regular little HOA thing. But the room wasn't buying it. People were whispering. Looking at me. Looking at Sarah. Then Sarah stood up. And listen. When a lawyer stands up calmly, you know it's about to get uncomfortable. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten. She didn't insult. She just started explaining. Real slow. Real clear. She talked about selective enforcement. About how rules can't magically change depending on who you don't like. She talked about how approval letters don't just disappear because an HOA president wakes up cranky. And that's when the air changed. One board member tried to interrupt. Sarah didn't even look at him. Just kept talking. Then she dropped it. Personal liability. Not HOA money. Not insurance. Personal. You should have seen their faces. One dude actually swallowed hard. Another started flipping papers like he was looking for an exit. Linda tried to regain control. Said something about procedures and authority. That's when Sarah finally looked right at her. And calmly said, "Authority doesn't protect you when you abuse it." That line hit like a slap. The room went dead quiet. Then Sarah pulled out the receipts. Emails. Approvals. Dates. Signatures. And Linda. The woman who'd been bullying this neighborhood for years. Couldn't say a word. She just sat there. That's when neighbors started realizing something. This wasn't just my fight. This was theirs. After the meeting, people came up to me quietly, shaking my hand, thanking me, telling stories. One lady whispered, "I thought I was the only one." That's when I knew. Linda's whole thing was built on fear and silence. But silence was gone now. 2 days later, the HOA's attorney quit. Straight up resigned. Didn't even try to explain it away. That's never a good sign. Sarah filed a formal legal demand. Not even a lawsuit. Just a warning. 72 hours. That's what they had. And I'll never forget how fast that tone changed. Emails went from threatening to polite. Calls went unanswered. Then suddenly returned. Linda stopped walking the neighborhood. Stopped sending notes. Stopped smiling. Because when bullies realize they might have to answer for their actions, they fold. But here's the part nobody expects. The HOA tried to save itself. Emergency meetings. Damage control. Whispered conversations. But it was too late. Once fear changes sides, power shifts. By the end of that week, they pulled the fine. Quietly. No apology yet. Just gone. And that was when Sarah said something that stuck with me. She said, "Now we make sure this never happens again. Because winning one fight isn't enough. If the system stays broken." And in the next part, that system came crashing down. Elections. Resignations. Public accountability. Because when someone finally stands up, everyone else realizes they can too. And that's when the HOA stopped being the neighborhood bully and started becoming what it was always supposed to be. Or disappeared trying. Man, you don't even know how good it felt walking into that HOA office knowing the game had changed. I mean, I'd seen fear in their eyes before. But this time, it was like a spotlight hit them. And everybody could see it. Linda was there. Of course she was. Clipboard in hand, blazer still stiff. Trying to act like she owned the damn place. But you could tell. She knew. She had lost. And I wasn't the only one noticing it. Sarah was calm as ever, standing beside me like a lighthouse. Everything in her demeanor screaming, "We got this." So the meeting starts, and you could feel the tension in the air, thick like humidity in July. Board members shifting in their seats, whispering, trying to figure out how to recover. But recovery wasn't coming. Sarah didn't even wait for them to start yammering. She went straight to the documents. Emails, signatures, approval letters. Every violation they tried to hit me with just shredded into dust under her gaze. She explained the fines were illegal. Proportionality, due process, selective enforcement.
Let's move forward with the proposal as discussed.
She even brought
I
up
agree, that sounds
personal
like the best
liability
approach.
again, which, let me tell you, hit like a hammer. Linda tried that fake confident tone. "Oh, we just have procedures." Sarah looked at her dead in the eye and said, "Procedures don't make you immune to law. And you should have seen it." The color drained from Linda's face. Her hands started fidgeting with the clipboard. She wasn't used to this kind of resistance. This kind of truth hitting her square in the face. Then Sarah laid it out. If they tried to collect that $50,000 fine, they'd be facing personal lawsuits, attorney fees, court orders, you name it. And 3 other homeowners were ready to testify to selective harassment. The room went quiet, like someone cut the power. Mark Reynolds over here? I'm sitting calm. Because now it's not just me fighting. It's the law. And it's every single homeowner who's ever been bullied. Linda tried one more time, her voice shaky, trying to sound in control. But it didn't matter. The board had been exposed. The fear switch had flipped. After what felt like hours, which was really maybe 20 minutes, the board called a recess. Everyone
This smells incredible.
shuffled
Did you
out.
marinate these yourself?
Yes, with my special
Linda
recipe. Want to
avoided
try a
eye
piece?
contact
Absolutely,
with
can't
me.
wait.
With Sarah, even with her own board. And let me tell you, the energy in the room after that recess? Totally different. People were talking quietly, sharing stories, some laughing nervously, some shaking their heads, realizing just how close they came to being crushed by an HOA that thought they were untouchable. Then the next week hit, and things escalated fast. The HOA sent out letters, emergency notifications, trying to fix the damage. But nothing could undo the fact that their authority had been shattered. Linda resigned. Out of nowhere. No announcement. No drama. Just gone. And you could see it. The power vacuum. The nervous board members. The neighbors suddenly realizing they had a voice. Elections were held. For the first time in years. New board members, diverse, ready to do things right. Transparency became the law of the land. No more backroom deals. No more selective fines. And the neighborhood changed overnight. People were talking again. Kids played in the streets. Barbecues returned. Laughter came back. And me? I just stood there watching it all unfold. Knowing that standing my ground, having the right lawyer, and keeping calm had changed everything. And let me tell you something. That $50,000 fine? It wasn't just about me. It was about sending a message. About standing up. About using your rights. About not letting bullies run the show. And Sarah? She didn't just win the case. She rewrote the rules for that neighborhood. Literally. She ensured that no HOA president could pull this stunt again. Mark Reynolds in the backyard now? Peaceful. Stone path still there. Fence still there. But now it's not just my backyard. It's a symbol. A symbol that you can fight back. That even the loudest bullies, even the most untouchable HOA presidents, can be held accountable. And that, my friends, is how a lawyer, a calm homeowner, and a little courage can shut down a $50,000 fine, change a neighborhood, and make history. So if you're out there dealing with an HOA,
hello, and welcome to our
flex,
discussion today. Let's dive into the details.
Story.
I've completed the
Remember
review
that
of the
fear only
documents,
works
and
if you
everything
let it.
is in order for the next step.
And remember, sometimes you gotta stand your ground. Because justice doesn't come to those who fold. This isn't just a victory. It's a warning. To anyone who thinks power
Hello,
comes
welcome
from
to my home.
intimidation.
It's great to see
It
you here.
doesn't. It comes from the people. And the people who know their rights.